To today's ninth virtual meeting, okay, for the Rotary year of 2019-2020. Allow me to present today's virtual meeting on behalf of President Sima, who is absent due to personal reasons, and I hope everything will be fine. I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our speaker for the day, His Excellency Mr. Abdulnabi Al Shoala. I will give a very brief personal background about his past, which is that he has graduated in the bachelor's in economics and political science. And Mr. Shoala, His Excellency, is married and has 4 children. God bless him. I'm sure everybody knows about Mr. Shoala, who is either a resident or has been living in Bahrain for a while, starting out as a serial entrepreneur. His Excellency is the founder and advisor to the board of Al Fanar Investment Holding Company, and also the chairman of Al Bilad for Journalism, Publishing and Distribution Company. He has held key positions in various government or organizations and agencies in the Kingdom of Bahrain, including as Minister of Labor and Social Affairs, Minister of State, member of the Shura Consultative Council, and its executive committee. He has served as a board member in several semi-government organizations, including chairman of the GOSI and social vice chairman of BCCI, the Chamber of Commerce. And in short, His Excellency Mr. Al Shoala has been on the government and private panel for many, many years. His Excellency Mr. Al Shoala has received many awards, such as Distinguished Achievement Award, Public Relations, late His Highness Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa First Class Medal, Leadership in Training and Human Resource and Development. His speech today will be about the coronavirus and the labor market. But before His Excellency can start, we have some announcements to make of our recent international conference, for which I would like to call upon our Secretary of the Rotary Club of Salmaniya, Rotarian Faisal Juma, to please announce.
Right. Just to update everyone, we had our first, it's the Rotary District 2452 conference. It was organized last weekend, 28th to 30th of May in Jordan and you have to, it's the first virtual conference in this district. And our club, Salmaniya, won a merit for the service project and a cup for public image. We worked very hard this year under President Sima, and these applications take a very long time to prepare and a lot of material. So we have to give everyone's, applause, a clap for doing a very good job in doing the projects. So in the conference, total participants 1,100, and out of that, 72 are from Bahrain. All the videos are available online on the link, which I can distribute for all the members. Khalid, it's back to you.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if I was mistaken. Was there a cup as well for something?
Well, yes, I mentioned a cup for public image.
Okay, sorry about that. That's clear.
Yeah.
I think we will pass the birthdays this time.
Yeah, or we can do it after, either or, yeah.
And I would like to congratulate the board members for the achievements we have received this year. And I wish the new board coming in success for the future. In the meantime, I would like to request in advance that once our speaker has completed his speech, we have the method of sending your questions by message on the Zoom. You will find the chat button at the bottom of the screen that you can send to Faisal, so that there will not be any confusion or people raising hands and then wanting to interrupt. And as you can see, all of the microphones are muted so that there will be no interference while the question is being asked, and our guest of honor will be allowed to answer the question. I hope that is acceptable to all. and therefore we would like to proceed. And I call Your Excellency, Mashal. You're introduced, and I'll give you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rotarian Khalid, friends, fellow Rotarians, and I'm allowed to say fellow Rotarians, I'm sure, with my association with the Rotary Club and friends, when Rotarian Ghafir Al-Amran and then Faisal Jum'a asked me if I would share with you today's meeting and discussion. I was, as usual, very pleased because of the place I have with the Rotary in my heart. In fact, only 2 days ago, on debating the same issue and the programs that the government has taken, I have clearly mentioned that one of the major activities, a successful one which is being continued now, is the exhibitions or that is held for the jobs, which is still continuing. I don't know if any one of you still remembers, this was initiated by the Rotary clubs. And it was for many years managed by them, supported by them. It was extremely successful. In addition to many contributions, the club in itself and its members have come forward to support all our initiatives and the initiatives of the government in this respect. I would like to make this presentation, I will call it a presentation rather than a speech, and probably better to make it much more interactive, because the subject which I'm going to talk about, all of you, I'm sure, is aware of it. It has come to the surface in a much more forceful way recently after the advent of this coronavirus. This coronavirus have exposed and issues which we were aware of it, but it has also demonstrated the extent of the difficulties that we are facing with respect to the majority of the expatriate, or I'll call them guest laborers, in our country in particular and in the GC in general. That's, the same issues are being confronted and addressed by all the GCC, in fact, by many other countries. The issue of the migrant laborers, you hear it every day, we hear it being talked about, etc. And in my views, the issue is the terrible condition in which we have led and caused millions of people to suffer in and to be the victims of a situation developed and imposed through the last 3 to 4 decades. We have been resorting and relying on the contribution and support and help of millions of expatriate workers to help us in building and achieving our developments, both physical, etc. The situation started in the middle of 1970s of last centuries, when we have found that due to the increased revenue from the oil, etc., that we have excess funds, that our leadership decided to spend it wisely and quickly in developing and providing our people with the services and the requirement they deserve. We're lucky to have such, because sometimes this question arises: why did we go through such a fast track of development to build an infrastructure and facilities much more than our need? Okay, why did we have to do it? If we are only that many people, let's do it slowly and to cope with our requirement, and then to build up as we grow. We have doubled our population to meet half of the population need. Okay, and that's what we are in the. I think I'm defensive of the. I'm defending the view that it was much wiser to proceed, though in a very fast speed, to develop our economy and our life as a whole. The gap between our modern life and what we were before was quite huge, and it needs to be crossed and filled up. We have to build roads from nothing, airports, ports, hospitals, schools, colleges, you name it. Everything in Lab was needed. And our people, until recently, many of our guest or expatriate community did not know the condition of the people of GCC, how they were living in such a very, I would say poverty even, before the advent of the oil. There are evidence and pictures to show how people are living at that time. So the need was great to uplift our people, and hence there was a need for peace. This is in defense of those who say, why did we have to do it? Now we complain. Okay. We are not complaining. We think it was a wise decision to go into such a speed to develop the economy and the people and the life of the people to such an extent. Even the life expectancy has even increased, you know, compared to 40, 50 years ago to today. So we have achieved a great thing of which we were proud. We don't have to, we have only to see how others have the same revenue and they could not. Look at Nigeria, what's happening. They got oil as well, okay? And what happened? Look at a country like Venezuela now, what they are looking at. We are not in that league. We have achieved a lot and we are thankful to the people. So we must make it very clear that, and in all my presentation, there is no need for any feeling of displeasure, leave alone animosity to our people who are with us, our guests. This is not part of our culture. We should be grateful to them. We should thank them. We should appreciate what we have to them. In fact, we are worried that now millions of them will be thrown away from their jobs and will be thrown in the street to join those already in the casual, we call it casual market, illegal, free visa, whatever you call them. They will be there now in the market. And I'm thankful for the governments, and you all, I'm sure you share me the same, like the government of Bahrain, who try to provide those laborers with at least basic requirement of food. We have seen how during Ramadan, iftar was distributed to them. And I hope the same scheme will continue, place for them to live, etc. It is our liability and our responsibility to provide them with the basic needs of their life, not because of any ethical or moral reasons alone. But I tell you one thing, if we leave them like that, and they are in the streets hungry, without anybody meeting with them, you can imagine what you and me will do. This will be an invitation of crimes, of violence, of terrors, of everything. You know, if you leave millions of people, you know the number of them. There are in hundreds of, in millions rather. Okay, Kuwait alone, I have the figure, is 250,000 now, and they are increasing, of people who has been without a job, thrown in the industry, thrown out from their jobs because the private sector could not bear them, could not continue to employ them with this situation. You know, the number of expatriate, or I'll call them again, immigrant workers, okay? Immigrant workers is, as of today, 17 million, 17 million throughout the GCC country. If you add to them their families, they become 24 million people. And there's almost half of the entire population of the GCC country. There is no country in the world that has that percentage or that number of foreigners living with them. Now we have the coronavirus situation has exposed the threats. I will not call it the dangers, I'll call it the challenges. There is social challenge, there is economic challenge, and there is political. Somebody, shall I continue? Yeah, okay.
Please go ahead.
So yeah, these are the challenges. The challenge now is that how we should cope with the excess number of the expatriate workers. Now, the problem of that is that that number of excess laborers comes from the lower category of the jobs of the labor, and I have to be careful when I say lower categories. There is no lower category in the job. They're all respectable, but I'm talking about blue collar laborers, you know. Majority of them is in that category. Because many studies have been conducted that out of the 17 million laborers we have invited, 80% of them in that category, in the lower category, okay? Now, out of the 80%, 60% are illiterate, not untrained, not unskilled, illiterate. Many of them illiterate. They can't. So these are studies showing that. This is our mistake, or some of them say because we are looking for cheap labor. Now I will come to this cheap labor. Only 20% of them are of the professional categories. Now we have now these people in that category, they are capable of looking after themselves. They are skilled. They contribute. They are properly protected. And they have no problem. They can find another alternatives easily. They don't need us, you know. They have the skill and the knowledge, etc. It's only that 80% of the population that we need to care and worry about. I will continue only one thing, because one of the issues that has been debated, that okay, we have done this because we were looking for cheap labor. You know, there is nothing called cheap labor. There's nothing called cheap labor, and there is no cheap labor. Never been, and I have always been saying this. There is no cheap labor. You get cheap labor, you get cheap productivity. That's it. Okay. Yeah, there's an English saying, you say you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Okay. So this is not true. It is cheap labor. Even the lowest of the lowest category, if you pay somebody 120 dinars as an employee, okay, as an employer, you pay him 120, he costs actually the economy or at least 3 times for the services provided to him, for the subsidized electricity, subsidized water, subsidized this one, medical facilities which we have to extend so that you can meet them. There is a study to show that if you invite 1 million unskilled labor or uneducated or illiterate, whatever, any laborers of that category, you need another 1 million to serve them, to clean their whatever garbage, to clean the roads for them, to organize the traffic, to etc. So you need that number. So it is actually a false economy. I have said always, and luckily we have some architects with us who was very expert, who can tell me if my question was right or wrong. I told them, if we have cheap labor, now before I reach this, the higher category, the 20% of that, they've never been cheaper than the locals. You can never be cheaper than the local. Okay. Any engineer you employ as this one, you pay him high salary, you pay him accommodation, tickets, labor charges, labor fees, labor what, LMRA, ABC, so many fees you have to pay, provide him with accommodation, with car, etc. Okay, his cost at least you double than the local. So anybody tell you that we are employing expatriate because they are cheaper than the locals, in that category, that is not true. That is not true. Those of us who employ local engineers and we employ expatriate engineers, normally the expatriate engineer costs us more. And that's a fact, you know. Maybe there are exceptions to the rules, but that is the rule. You know, you pay more. The guy is leaving his country, you have to pay him for that. You're buying his expertise. So we go back to the cheap labor, and I said, okay, if we are paying cheap, then in that case, the cost of our project should be less than others. Now, okay, we are building airports. Can you tell me that the airports we build is costing us less than the airports that is built in Europe? I have researched this. I found that in the contrary, our project, I'll stick to the airports, Our project, the airport project, costs more than anywhere else, takes longer time to finish because of our skills of our laborers, etc. So that is one example, and I cited more, and I don't want to bother you, but you have at least, I'm sure, one capable engineer who can tell me if the example I have cited is correct or not. I think what I will do, I will stop at this, and then maybe through an interaction, we can expand more on what I discussed or add more issues. Thank you.
I think that's a good idea. I think it's a good time to open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much, Excellency. We will be having this interactive communication right now. Sorry for interrupting you, Faisal. Are we going to do as Dr. Zafar is raising his hand, or are we going to send the text messages? I can see maybe there are text messages or not. How would you like to go about it?
I would prefer to organize it a bit. If people can put the questions in the chat, type the questions in the chat. I will read out the questions, and His Excellency can answer them. I think in Dr. Zafar's case, since he's unaware of, he's not sure how to use the chat, I will make an exception for him and open the speaker.
Give him the first opening, please.
I think I'll unmute him for this case. Since he's the first one, shall we unmute him?
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Oh, he's unmuted.
Yes,
okay.
I am unmuted, Faisal. Thank you. Sorry for the technology. You know, thank God I am out of it now. It's for the young people to be talented with technology. But I wanted to talk for one reason. I wanted to really express my sincere thanks to His Excellency Abdulnabi Al Shoala for joining us. This is a pleasure to have him and to listen to him. He is a talented speaker, and all what he said is something new for us to hear. And I really would like to ask his point of view on the idea is who nowadays the corona situation or crisis, if you want to call it, has exposed a lot of things in our life. One of the things is management. Don't you think, Your Excellency, that I don't want to blame anybody, but municipality over the years, I don't know whether it's Ministry of Labor, but you're not anymore in it, you're out of it long time ago, but they have not really organized our poor labor, which you really talked about. They were mismanaged, and that's what really got us to what we are in now. I think we have a difficult situation to manage. So I hope that this is resolved. And I was asking the people from Ministry of Health, is it the problem now, our labor is the problem in Bahrain? They said not only the labor, it's the people of Bahrain cannot understand the seriousness of the matter, and they are really gathering in their houses, hiding without the government knowing about it, and then they get sick, and then the government has to be blamed. So what do you think, Your Excellency? Thank you.
Shall I start now? Yes, thank you very much, Zafar. Zafar, you are always exceptional. You know, you are always giving exceptions for everything because you are an exceptional person. Yes, indeed. We'll start with the tail end of your comments. The people, yes, indeed, the people. Everywhere you will see, look at the demonstrations in America now. Millions, nobody wearing any mask or anything, you know. We're all everywhere, you know, everywhere and all that, because we have been brought up of being together, of stick together. تباعد الآن. We were asked for taqarub all our life, our culture, our religion, be together, be closer together, be this one. And we were enjoying it. Us, Muhammad Salah ad-Din. Now we are all being told, no, the contrary, stay away from each other. Stay away. The culture, age-old culture, and is now being asked to reverse itself. So humanity is not the easiest species in life to change that quickly. We should give them a chance. By the time they get their chance, they'll be half anyway, so they will not need long time to learn more. if they continue that way. Having said that, you see, blame is not the right term to be used, you know. Circumstances were different at that time, you know. All these issues which are raised now, they have been discussed before. However, we were always challenged by the other review to say that for the sake of achieving our objectives, for the development, the growth, which we all of you, when I go to the Rotary, anytime we use that term, growth, development, future, etc. To achieve that, we have been by-siding or siding many of the important issues that we should address. And we did not. We were always thinking that, okay, one day when the time comes, this will be addressed like many other challenges have been addressed, and we are capable of doing it, you know. Nobody expected in any time in his life that a situation like this will develop, that really have exposed everything and made us unable easily to cope with the challenges presented to us. Okay, it can be done. So many of them, and when it comes to the health reason, yes, we have been always complaining. Not only us, international organizations have brought it to our attention that the way we are treating the lower category of labor is inhuman, is illegal. The way that we are, the amount we are paying them, they have told us, and we fought with them. The way that facilities we provide them, we have also fought with them. The accommodation which we provide, not always. There are some contractors and some employers are providing the right accommodation. But you go and see, and I have seen, and you all have seen, it's more like a stables, you know. But in fact, to our horses, we give better stables, to tell you the truth. You look at the stables where the horse is there, they're given bigger space for each horse. Not as much as given to the poor labor who work, you know. Because we are not using a lot the mechanized, automated way, we depend on hand skills or hand labor. That's why on the labor side, you will see hundreds of laborers there. So they're mixing together. How can they be aware? How can they taba'ud? How can they apply taba'ud in their work when they are, look at one site near me, there was 60 laborers there in one project, you know. How can be this one? Because they are all using their hands, including wheelbarrows, etc. Okay, how can they, when we cram them into accommodation, unhealthy, has no sanitation at all. Contrary to the laws of Bahrain, we have proper laws in Bahrain, but we don't impose them. There are international standards which we don't impose them. But I'm telling you, I'm happy to tell you now that there are many clients, major companies, and no publicity if I told you that I don't work for Alba, but one of them is Alba. Now they insist and inspect on the quality of the labor, with the camps there, how they are staying, what is the size, what is everything. The transportation also. You remember until recently we crammed them on trucks and on six-wheelers and all that, you know. We introduced regulations a little bit. Now you see if you go to Alba with your bus, air-conditioned bus, where they are the laborers, the capacity of that bus, 56 passengers, they tell you put only 26, only because each row should have only one, with enough space between them. You know, when we want to apply, we can apply. And I have calculated the difference of the accommodation transportation of this. It costs 50% more to the employer to provide the proper accommodation, to provide this one. It can be reflected on the cost of his tender, you know. So this is the situation. I think there is nobody responsible for it. We all should be responsible, and I'm sure we will be able to address it. And people have already started taking steps. I've given you the example of one company. I'm sure there are many companies doing the same, many employers. The government inspection also, the Ministry of Labor now has increased the number of inspectors who go to see the accommodation and to ensure that they meet with the at least the basic standard required. Thank you.
Okay. Now, is there anyone else? A couple of our participants are asking, is there a presentation that you can distribute to the members?
No, I have not been asked to make any present, but I'm happy to, if anybody wants any information. I am telling you, I'm for those who speak Arabic, I publish every week on Sunday one article. The publishers complain that it is a bit lengthy because it contains a lot of information and details and facts, etc. They're all available. They're all available. However, if you want me to come again with any specific idea of any specific issue that you need more details, more presentation on it, more numbers, I'm happy to bring. I just brought to you basic numbers of the overview of the whole thing. Well, I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. As we mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, please type it in the chat. While we wait for somebody to ask a question, I can, if I request people, as usual, please take a selfie of yourself and send it to my WhatsApp. Oh, Sabahat would like to thank you for remembering our projects in early years for Career Expo.
Can you let her comment? Sabahat, can you please unmute and comment on that?
Yeah, I think we need more explanation from Sabahat on this one.
No, Your Excellency, you know, we know what we did in our past, and you know that sometimes you just turn it into community, because the community is very welcoming the projects, what is generated by Rotaries. And this was one of our actually pioneering project in early years, very early years, and with our senior Rotarians, they are all here. Some of them are here. I am sure they will remember what we did those years better than me. And of course, highlighting by you as a Rotary Club of Salmaniya, we really appreciate. Thank you very much. And I am trying to read your column, by the way. I received the online copy. My Arabic is not that level, but still trying to cope with it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your comments.
If you have any remarks on those days, we would like to happy to hear it actually by members, because we have many new members, and I think we reached now around 30s attendance number. It would be nice to hear back from you, who knows the Bahrain careers and Bahrain working environment. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you very much indeed for raising this issue. Yes, I was for many years a member of the Rotary Club, so I understand fully the mission and the message and the commitment of the Rotary and the Rotarians, particularly the Bahraini Rotarians, and their willingness to support the community in any possible way. So when I took over the responsibility of the minister, the first thing I faced was I was sacked from the Rotary Club because I could not maintain the attendance. So I was not a member anymore, so I was disconnected. Anyway, and but however, this is only joking. I'm always welcomed, I know, and so I started approaching them with number of ideas. In fact, many of them came forward with initiatives of number of ideas. They contributed in many ways. I cannot remember, but there was on two fronts, because there was the labor affairs in the ministry and the social affairs. The social affairs department, one of its responsibility was to look after the disabled. We used to call them the disabled in that time. Now we have better terms and better nouns for them. They come forward for many projects. There was one school, in fact, initiated by the Rotary as of them, and funded and managed for some time. Now, I don't know what happened later to that for disabled. You know, there was one of the projects that I remember, in addition to many small contribution and all with positive. Then when we came with the idea of the Career Expo, it was the Rotary Club who took over the responsibility of organizing, of fundraising, of managing the thing, of proper organization. We were only giving the, I would call it the supervision, which although they didn't need any supervision, but also the engagement with them. And we have embraced that project, and it continued until today. Unfortunately, nobody remembers that it was the Rotarians who initiated that project. And if somebody will say, no, it is them, okay, they are the Rotarians who supported that project. All through, you know, in every way, they supported that project. Many of you remembers, but I remember all the details of their contribution. They used to have weekly meetings. They used to leave their work, their commitment, their rest time, and attend those meetings to see that the work is done. They were manning there. They were in the exhibition, guiding and supporting and talking to the job seekers and talking to employers. This has all happened. And I can tell you, I don't know whether the current person in charge will be happy with what I say or not. The Rotarians organized it better than today. Okay, today you got a lot of criticism even. Recently in the Majlis al-Nuwab and the parliament was issued. We have done it. So because of time factor, I will stop at this. But if you need me to go back to my memory and my paper, I can bring documents and things that we all will be proud of, and the Bahraini people should be proud of.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you. It's great.
We have two more questions there. On the,
we have quite a bit. We have a question from Ernst Hassan and a comment from District Governor-elect Mazen Amran. So we'll go to Ernst. What are the plans to return the not needed blue-collar workers, and who will bear these costs?
Okay, to return them, I don't think we should think that way, you know. I think I have addressed this issue. First of all, if you want to return them, you will not be able to return them. I've said that. I know it is not going to be the country which has the country of origin which sent them to you, many of them for more than 20 years, many of them for more than 30 years, will not easily be taking them back. You cannot do it. And if you do it in a massive way, the whole international community will stand against you. You know, you cannot do that. You know, we have to see how to solve the problem as I proposed it in a very humane and ethical and a professional way and legal way. Okay. I know that many countries will not take it. I know that I wrote it in writing so that if anybody wants to challenge me, I'm happy to say, 25 years ago, I went to India when I was minister, and part of the program was to meet sort of a brainstorming session, as they call it, with the lecturers, the professors, and the students of the International Relationship College of the Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi. And we talked about how to develop to cut a long story short, the issue was, why don't you send better quality laborers so that they contribute better, they earn better, they send you more money better? To get rid of them will be more difficult. Why don't you do that? Why do you send us this kind of equality? Normally, when you export mango, you choose the best mango to export. When you export rice, you choose the best quality of basmati to export. Why, when it comes to labor, you don't choose the best quality? Why are you allowing people to be exported and exploited? Your own people are exploited, and I know how they are exploited there. And before they come to us, they are exploited there. To come to the Gulf, you have to pay money. The poor laborers pays money there. Sometimes they sell the gold of their wives. Sometimes they sell their property. to pay for the agent who will bring them here. And we know that, and the government of India is aware of that. They know it. And they're allowing people to be exploited and to be exported. The one who pays more will be able to go, not the one who has got the better ability or equality, etc. This is only one country. It happens everywhere else. I'm not pointing only to one country. So I told them with the result. At that time, according to their statistics, the number of Indian employees in the region was 6 million at that time, 25 years ago. And they were sending, repatriating every year, officially through the official channels, $30 billion annually to the treasury of the Indian government. Okay, I'll stop at this. Today, the official number of the repatriation of fund is $122 billion annually, according to the World Bank Organization statistics. Today, all of them, none of the Indians, all the experts, 17 millions send that much out of the economy through the official channel, through the banking channel. There are other channels that goes through. I have studies to show that at least another 100% of the same account sent in different ways. I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure, but this is a figure. But I know very well that for an Indian expatriate to send his money, for example, or let's say Pakistani, why only target India or Filipino or anything? Okay, there are other ways. When they keep it in their pocket, when they go home, they carry it with them. They save the fees of sending. When a friend goes or relatives, he take in his pocket some dollars with him. When they go also, some of them, they have a habit of buying gold. You know, there are some nations like, with no disrespect, the people from Egypt, for example, they like to carry with them electrical appliances, etc. with them when they go back home. Whereas the Indians, for example, again, no disrespect, they prefer to carry with them gold, small pieces of gold. All these together, these are not included in the $122 billion sent annually. I'm talking about through the banking channels only. Okay. At that time, 25 years ago, back to the Jawaharlal Nehru University, 6 million Indian with $30 billion annually. So I told them, what happened hypothetically if we want to send them to you all? Take it. One of them, and in fact more than one of them, because they are not politicians like Dhafar al-Amran and me, because they openly said, well, if you send it to us, 6 million labor at one time, you will flood our labor market. You will deprive us of $30 billion annually. This is an act of war. This is an act of war. This is what they were telling us, you know, and very openly. But because they are not diplomats, they are highly educated. With me was in that meeting was Muhammad Jasim Al-Ghatam. At that time, he was president of Bahrain University. Then he became Minister of Education. He was also in that meeting. So having said that, this is not easy to send. Already the High Court of India has passed a judgment that we should not allow them to come. Now they are using the excuse of Corona. After Corona, the same thing will happen. They will not do this one. So we have to address it in different way. We have to go into a dialogue with the governments of these countries. They are our friends. We have other relationship. We have to send to them, and we should do it gradually, and we should try to do it in as human way as possible, in a human way, no question about it, etc. Whether we will be able to do it or not, that is another question. I have also, among the solutions or in the media, which I have suggested, I said, first of all, we should stop now issuing any new work permit. Nobody will tell you anything now. Stop it now. There is already a huge reservoir of free labor available in the market now. العمالة السائبة we call them. موجودين. Why? Earlier we could not do it. If we do it before, we'll be blamed. We are jeopardizing the economic growth, the wheel of the economy. We should maintain it, etc. So that's why we could not. Now they are available. Secondly, and I'm sure Muhammad Salahuddin will not happy to hear that, there will not be any more huge projects as much as it used to be before. We have almost completed most of our major infrastructural projects. We have airports everywhere, ports, etc., roads, etc. We have hospitals. Yes, there will be more, but not at the same magnitude and the same size. And even if we want to do it, we'll have no money to do it. The price of oil, you know all, where is it, and our revenue where we will get the money. We were, even before, we're having a problem with our financial resources. With this now, it became even more complicated. So we'll not have money to have any new project, to need more labor. So first of all, we should not issue any more work permit. We should allow anybody to go there. Now you know that you cannot send today anybody to his country without the approval of his embassy. You should know that. Huh? If you have somebody working, sometimes there are, yesterday I think there was an aircraft that took a few passengers to India. Only those that the Indian embassy approved it. Okay. Same thing with all other embassies, but I'm using India because we have the largest number of expatriates from India. So it is easy to demonstrate what we want to say. You will not be able to. You cannot legally, etc. So we should do that. We should increase the cost further, the cost of the expatriate output. And there will be a time when we have to encourage them to go, probably by paying them compensation. And this is not a new, Germany tried it before, to send the Turks back to Turkey. And they offered them to pay them money to go. They succeeded in some way. They could not. Maybe we have to do it. So if we have anybody who wants to go back to the Philippines, we have to pay him. Tell him, please go back home. Thank you very much, okay? Or I said, you have to be ready. Maybe we have to naturalize them. We give them citizenship. And then I have a big wave of objection against me why I propose this. I'm not proposing this. I said, we have to be prepared because maybe eventually we will have to do it. And there is no time. But I'm prepared, if you have any more time, to show you the legality and the legal background and the legal that maybe one day we'll find ourselves forced to do it. So if that's true and if that's possible, then we should be prepared for it. So in that case, we should really choose and pick the best brains. And we will be happy to have them as Bahrainis with them. Many of them anyway. Many of them are living with us more than you and me living in this country. So why not they are there? And they are, we are also in the Arab world, we have this challenge of هل هي عمالة وافدة أم عمالة مهاجرة? Because they use in Europe the immigrant labor. We always say, no, they are not immigrants. They are not Amala Muhajir. They are Amala Wafida. I fought for that. I wanted to convince those. It didn't work. I said, no, they are not migrants. They're guests. They said, what is that? They are from the country of origin. They are migrants to your country. So they are guests in your country. Okay, well, it's one and the same. However, we try to, etc. We tried also when we came across the labor union to tell them that, no, we don't want labor union. It cannot be. Our market is different. 70% of our workers are foreigners. How can we have trade unions? In that case, you should have for them. If you don't want to give your people, give labor union to the 70% of your population. So finally, we have agreed that we will have a labor union back in Bahrain. On Sunday, my article is about that. We had a labor union where even the expatriate workers can join, can vote, can stand for election, can be elected to the board. So these are facts of life. So when it comes to giving nationality to some of the expatriates in our country, Luckily in Bahrain, we have already done some of that, but we should be probably prepared to do more. There are many countries in the GCC that is a taboo issue. That's okay, up to them. But one day, probably, they should be prepared that they may be forced to do it. Okay. Thank you, but thank you. Any other question? I hope I have replied to that question.
I think you've done it very well.
Very well.
Yes, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Can you please have the mic transferred to DGE Mazen, please?
Okay, but Hassan.
It's the last.
Hassan sent me a question probably before Mazen. So shall we ask Hassan's question first and then Mazen's, or Mazen?
I don't know. If it's an announcement, it will be short, and then the question, whichever.
Okay, because it says I have a comment.
Okay.
Let's ask Hassan's question because he asked it first, I think, to be fair to Hassan.
All right, no problem. No problem.
Okay. Now, Hassan asks, the Prime Minister of Kuwait have pledged to reverse the population structure to give local majority. To give local majority. Do you think this is doable in Kuwait or other GCC countries?
Yes, I know. I've heard the speech in full. He wants to reverse it to 70% local, 30% expatriates. Beautiful. Yeah. I believe that when there is a will, there is a way. There's always a way to do it. Okay. Whether they will be able to do it or not is another. The issue of the citizenship in Kuwait is a bit more complicated. We all know, I think at least the majority of you is aware of the issue of the Bidun, in Kuwait. So this is going to be a very, very challenging task. He himself said, we are without the biggest challenge we should confront is 70 to 30. Yes, it can be done because now the activities of the economy will be reduced drastically. The nature of the work will be reduced drastically. Okay. The mechanization should be introduced to reduce it. Okay. The other day I was in one of the supermarkets, which I don't want to mention. If you look at the number of the counter cashier, there were, I think, 18 of them. Each of them is manned by one cashier and one packer. I think at the back written with the packer, two of them. This is nothing in Europe. We don't find this anywhere in Europe. Now there is a machine there which you put what you buy there, and automatically you have to pay either cash or a credit card. You have to buy your carry bag with you, you pay for it. And there is one supervisor standing for every 10 units to help you in case you get stuck. That's only an example. Those people who are, I'm sure, in SAR, when I go around, sometimes I see poor people in the middle of the sun with their wheelbarrow carrying pieces of this in the market, to clean the garbage from the streets. This is not on. There are now machines, equipment. There's no more anymore cleaner code, or as we say it in locally hammam, it's the degrading name to a job which is not degrading, cleaning. Now it's a cleaning operator. You have to be able to operate these machines of cleaning. Now you have seen in Europe, and I'm sure it is introduced many places, those garbage containers outside in the streets. There's now a new method or technology. They are underground. They're all underground, and they're thrown to them. And there's a machine to come, which is, to me, it looks very sophisticated and complicated. That opens this, it carries this, and there are only two people working in a very dignified way, in a very professional way. So the kind of job now, working from home with a distance, all of this will reduce the number of people required. New technology, IT. Before it was, if somebody of us will say, I will work from home. I'm sure Abdulnabi Al Shoala will say, we have a term in Bahrain who says عيار. هذا عيار يشتغل من البيت. يبغى يشتغل من البيت هذا عيار. And now no more. We are all now used to working from home, and it's apparently to be very efficient. Apparently, and suddenly became very very good and it works very well. It saves space, it saves roads. We don't need that many roads. We don't need that many cars. So everything is changing. I think like what we have before Christ and after Christ, now we'll have before Corona and after Corona. After Corona, the whole nature of the labor market work will change. But all of it showing that we will need less people, more qualified, more capable, and more trained.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have, I think, we have one comment from District Governor-elect Mazar Amran. Let me unmute him. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh dear. Okay, please, تفضل.
Thank you, Mashal. How are you? Okay, you're keeping well?
Very well, alhamdulillah. Shukran, Allah
Thank you very much. Just a small comment. First of all, I forgot what I wanted to answer to question you, because it took so long. And when we give you a microphone, Mashal, you don't stop talking. That's the normal, and everybody knows that. Other than that, if you remember, Manama Rotary Club started the career guidance seminar before Adliya started, which was the career expo. That was later. We started the career guidance seminar in 1987. And that's where we were bringing all the students from the intermediate classes to a hall here in Al-Hassam in buses. And we used to train them by Rotarian professionals. Do you remember that, or you don't remember that? Maybe it's a long time.
I knew about it. This is before my time. I took over as minister in 1990.
Maybe somebody from the old guys, which unfortunately none of them are here. We started the career expo, with a career guidance seminar, and it wasn't an expo. And then Adliya came over later and changed it into the career expo, if I am correct. But we started a long time, for about 10 years. We were doing it every year. And the speakers who were talking to the young generation just before they go into Tawjihi, we were telling them, what were you going to study? So we had doctors, we had the engineers, we had lawyers, we had civil servants, and we did that for about 10 years in a row. And then Adliya took over, and they did a very good job after that. Thank you for just an old-time comment on what you were talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The contribution of the Rotarians is already, I'm being blamed of speaking a lot. That's why I could not mention all the achievements, all the contribution of Rotary. If you will give me 2 hours, I will be happy to go through the whole achievements. Yes, indeed, they have contributed in no small measures. And I'm disappointed, and I'm sorry that this contribution is not recognized, is not remembered, is not this one. If I were there, I would putting on this new expos or any new exhibitions which we are conducting now, I would have put a banner saying originally initiated by the Rotary Club, right up there. And in my speech, I will remember that, because this is the way how you encourage others to do similar things. If you deny, if you don't mention, if you do not appreciate, nobody will do it. You see, man la yashkur Allah la yashkur الناس. Shukran. I don't know, translate it into English. Thank you.
I think it's well said. Thank you very much. I believe we only have we have a couple of comments. Muhammad Khaja would like to thank you very much for your wonderful talk from the Rotary Club of Bahrain. I believe that's it. I don't see any other question. Khalid,
yes. Yeah. Yes, thank you very much. Your Excellency, thank you very much for sharing your vast knowledge and experience on the subject matter of the labor force and their necessity in Bahrain. And as you said about if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, another way to say it is that you get what you pay for.
That's
Now,
right.
I understand, that the difficulties in Bahrain, that they don't understand that when they get an expatriate, they have to pay for the visa, the LMRA, the accommodation, the transport, the go-see, the tickets, and everything else that is counted for is ignored because they take it as something invisible to them. Now, the other thing is everything is based on the productivity and the output of the labor force that you are hiring. And to talk about the inhumane ways of people that have been dealt with here, what I always say, if the laborer is not suitable, just simply either send them back or train him, but avoid treating anybody inhumanely. Last but not least, you have been involved in Rotary before. Rotary Club of Salmaniya welcomes you to be an honorary member of Rotary Club of Salmaniya. And of course, when you speak, you're speaking with value. You're not just speaking without any value. And everybody is listening to your statements. And we would like to always welcome you back. And we can, for sure, understand that what you have to say will be taken with great respect. So, without further ado, I would like to thank you once again and welcome you to our club in the future. I hope when everything goes back to normalcy, for your attendance and to enjoy lunch with us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
Okay.
What the comment you said is well said and absolutely right, all of it. And I thank you for your.
Kishore, can you put your mic on silence, please?
I can do it for him.
Okay. All right. Without further ado, I think I'll call this meeting to an end. And thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
I think that's thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
I think everyone really appreciated your talk.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Okay.
bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, everybody.